Hi and welcome to a very special edition of 2 Pints of Maggots and a Packet of Hooks, the fishing podcast. In fact, this is so special that we're not even going to be looking at the press pack, nor are we going to be doing any reviews in the tackle shed. This podcast, in association with Teddy Fisher Baits and Fisher Evolution, is going to solely focus on the big chat. And in the big chair for the big chat is 2021 Fishermania champion, Mr. Harry Bignell. It's going to be a great chance to understand how Harry approached such a big match and how he went and comprehensively won, should I say, his first major final. So without further ado, let's delve in to the big chat. Hi and welcome to the big chat. We're in for an absolute treat because we've got the 2021 Fishermania champion. It's Mr. Harry Bignell. How are we, sir?
I'm all right, David. How are you?
I'm all right, pal. I'm not bad at all. Listen, first of all, thanks for joining me. I know you're a busy man right now.
No problem at all, mate.
I bet you're getting asked left, right and centre. Angling Times, media, asking you all sorts of questions. What's it been like since you've won?
It's crazy. Yeah, it's been absolutely mad, mate. To be fair, it's new to me because I don't know. It's not some, I've not really been like in the spotlight much, so you do get a little bit. I don't really know what the word is. To be fair, a little bit bamboozled with it all, but it's all right. I like it, to be fair, because it's something new. Do you know what I mean? So it's letting me put my point across and story across. So yeah, it's good.
No, absolutely, mate. And I know you did a similar one of the podcasts with the Guru lads, and I had a good old listen to that. And that, I mean, if you've not heard any of mine before, we do have a theme where we talk about sort of the past, the present, and the future, if you like, and sort of your plan. So a lot of it, that theme will carry on through this. And I think the main thing I want to get across to my listeners is, and this is no disrespect whatsoever, I know absolutely who you are because I'm Northern, but unless you're on our sort of scene, then a lot of the listeners, they may well not have heard of you until that sort of final and that win. So we'll get stuck into a bit of that and talk about it all. But there was one thing that I picked up on from the podcast with Matt and also just other chit chat with some of the other lads around and about. Is that I couldn't believe that you weren't sponsored.
Yeah, it's not something that I've really tried to ever be. So I know a lot of lads do take quite a lot of time out to try and get there, and I always thought that I'd rather sort of justify a sponsorship because I don't really want to. I don't know, mate. It's a weird one, really. I have been offered things in the past, and I've taken. I was with Bag and Match Baits and stuff for a little bit, and I had something going with MIDI long time ago. That though, and it was just one for me. I can't really put my finger on what it was.
No, I get it. It's not for everyone. You know, sometimes you're forced to use a bit of gear you might not necessarily use. Using baits
definitely.
That you don't have. It's all about confidence as well, isn't it? And if you a certain bait that you use and you're used to it, why would you want to swap? But my main point of questioning with the sponsorship thing is, okay, fair enough in the past, but since this win, have you been approached?
No.
All right, that'll be interesting because I think that's probably a question some of the listeners will be asking. All right, let's take a step back then. So let's find out a bit about the man in terms of sort of Harry Bignell himself. Now, starting fishing, there's two routes that throughout the theme of all these podcasts that we've done. There's the traditional route of probably a similar one to myself. Started on the local canal. Used to bike it down there with your mates and all the rest of it. And then maybe you sort of join a club and, maybe somebody takes you under the wing and starts taking you out and about, and then you sort of fall into matches. So what was the route that you went? Was it that, or was it just a case of straight into the frying pan, if you like?
Yeah, so how it started with me was I sort of started when I was about 11 years old, probably. Yeah. And I used to go to a place called Risby, which is it's only a little commercial. There's about 4 lakes there, but it's only I don't know, probably an hour, no, not even that, probably about half an hour walk from my house. So in a car, it's 5 minutes. So it was really easy for me to just get there because obviously at 11, 12, you don't drive. So my mum used to drop me off, and I used to have a little, but it wasn't little, it was like a 13-foot match rod.
Yeah.
With a little box, like a tackle box thing. It was a Shakespeare box.
Oh, aye. We all had a Shakespeare box.
Yeah. So I had one of them, and I used to just go up there with, a little cheap telescopic landing net, a little bit of tackle, and I used to just fish. It was mad, mate. I just used to fish mussels everywhere, every time I went, and throw them in, and just fish them.
Who got you onto that?
Just because, I don't know what it was, but at the time there was a bit of a thing for them, and all the old blokes that used to go there used to be using them, and I used to, because when you're young, you don't really think about it.
You don't know any different, do you? Yeah.
Yeah, you just do, and so I used to just do that, mate. I used to love it, to be fair, just catching little tench and that, and small carp and stuff like that. Not many, but do you know what I mean? It was cheap as well because they were about 90p a bag then. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you're about 10 years younger than me. What are you, 30?
Yeah, 30, mate. Yeah.
Right. So we're going back to about 2000 here, then, aren't we?
Yeah, 2000. Right. Yeah. So about it will have been. It probably was bang on about 2000.
Yeah.
Because I used to play football before that. So
right.
I used to play football for a Sunday league team when I was little, and then that all just stopped real quick. I can't remember why. And then I just started doing that instead with my spare time. I just used to go fishing, and it wasn't serious at all, mate, to start with. And then quite quickly, though, I ended up... I used to go on an evening, and there used to be an evening series, a series that used to get run in the summer there. It was a league.
Yeah.
And I was fishing on... it was a Wednesday night, and I got booted off the lake. So I came home, and I was like, well, do you know what I mean? I wouldn't mind having sitting behind them. Ended up sitting behind them all. And I was like, right, Mum, I need a pearl now. Because all of them were using pearls. So I was like, right, I need a pearl, I need a different box.
Yeah.
And I think I got one for my birthday. I think my dad bought me a pearl, my mum bought me a box. And then before I knew it, I sort of started accumulating all this gear. And I had a tackle shop in Beverley round corner from me. So I'd be in there on a Friday, after school, talking about fishing and listening to stuff. And when you're young, you're like a sponge, you just learn.
Definitely.
So quick. I think if I was if it was now and I knew what I knew, and I didn't I can't really put this into words. So imagine I was trying it from I was 30 and I wanted to learn all that. I wouldn't be able to do it that quick, nowhere near or at all. But when you're young, your brain's it's growing at the same time, and you're just that active. You just want to know more, and you just learn it so quick, mate. And before I knew it, was fishing matches. I didn't join a club. I did fish for Leeds Juniors for a little bit.
Right.
So I fished with them for, I think it was about a year. But I didn't fish any matches with them. I used to just fish nationals with them. And I used to fish maybe 2 or 3 times a year with that team. But I never actually fished in the Leeds Juniors club in terms of going across the Yorkshire and fishing all the different venues. I maybe used to just do a couple of them because it was hard for me to get there.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was 13, 14. Do you know what I mean? When I'm fishing, and you can't drive anywhere, Dave. Do you know?
Yeah, so absolutely.
When you're young like that, unless you've got really because my dad don't go fishing and he didn't really understand it, and my mum used to do what she could, and she used to take me as much as she could. But it was very difficult to be able to take someone take someone fishing to places like that, like in Leeds, Sheffield, Doncaster, Barnsley, wherever, because, you know, it's a long way, you know, on a weekend as well.
Absolutely,
So I just used to
taking
stay
up their
local.
time. Yeah. Well, I'm assuming you talk about these waters, Risby. It was like I guess, was it a commercial? Was it all carp, or was it a mixed bag, or what?
Yeah, so Risby it was predominantly like little carp, so there were like anything from sort of, I don't know, a pound to like £4 or £5 in one lake, and then another lake was just all tench,
Right.
and then another it was classed, that one, and then there was another one which was like that was called the carp pond. That was all big carp, so they were like sort of £5 to £10 then.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of everything, to be fair. I used to just go on them all. But yeah, and then there was a little stock pond at the back. But yeah, it was mint, that place. Still sometimes going out, you know, if I just want something to do.
That's good. Yeah. No, the reason why I'm thinking that, I'm just thinking because obviously, you know, your scene is more or less commercials now, isn't it? And obviously, Fisher Mania final tends to be one with carp, and I'm just thinking. So you started off learning fishing, and the predominant species was carp, and it puts you in good stead. Whereas probably myself and you know, my sort of era, we all started off with a little perch or a roach and moved out because the commercials weren't quite as big as they are now.
I get what you're saying now. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because it's a shame there isn't any sort of big finals on the Silverfish side. It is just all carp these days, isn't it? And I think
I think the Riverfest has broke it up a little bit, and obviously with the Feeder Masters piece as well, because there's obviously a lot of skimmer fishing and long range, quite technical fishing, I guess, but nothing to the heights of these 50 grands, you know, your match dish, your Fishermania and that. But you never know. I think there's, you know, it's getting back in popularity.
For it, I think the scope for it on like an international level as well. We're lucky in this country because this is like the fishing capital of the world, isn't it? Like,
so much choice, isn't there, mate?
We've got all the commercials. We've got all the brands. The tackle brands are all like based here. Like everything is in the UK, in it. So, but there might be like some sort of wave, maybe bringing something into, because there's a lot of anglers that go abroad. You know, like there's a lot of like German anglers and stuff like that you wouldn't even realise like how many there was. There's absolutely loads. So there might be something there for, you know, to bring one over there and maybe have like us lads trying to get some into one of their. Then then there might be a lot of them lads in it. I don't know. There's ways of doing stuff, but
they do the. I mean, like you say, there's one or two places up for grabs in the fish show final. I think for European anglers, but it doesn't go the other way round, does it? Like you say, there's nothing of that size in. And spot on. I mean, Germany, Poland, a lot of East Europe, Hungary. These countries on the international scene are flying. So could it be that they create something as big as Fish Show? But I guess it's all about the backing, Sky Sports, Matchroom, all the rest of it. But it's interesting. It's a really good point. So taking a step back a little bit then. So we started off, and it sounds like your mum was instrumental as well. I'm the same, mate. If my dad didn't fish. If he didn't take me round and about, I'd never have got into it properly. So it sounds like your mum was really sort of inspirational to get you out.
Yeah. My dad did used to take me when he could. But my dad used to. He was quite busy and he works quite a lot, and he does a lot of drinking on a weekend as well. So it's sort of like it was like he never used to be able to sort of pick me up on a Saturday night or Sunday night because he used to go out. Do you know what I mean? Which is fair enough, but yeah, my mum used to take me all over the place, and
has she ever had a fish? Have you ever?
No. She don't like the thought of holding them or all like that, but she did used to help in it a lot, mate, because it's difficult when you're young. I mean, there's some lads now that I see and I think, blooming hell, like I know some of these, you know, young lads that dads take them on the qualifiers and that. It's amazing. Like,
it's dedicated.
They don't realise how lucky they are.
Yeah, the dad's got to be as dedicated as the kids, to be fair. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, some of them are banging. So I guess it's a bit like you see some of these dads at football, though, don't you? And they're kicking every ball for them, you know, and it's maybe it's almost I wish I'd have been them when I was younger sort of thing. But
to be fair, I mean it is what it is. You are what you are, but you know that I think it's great that they do that because I think one day they'll be absolutely like awesome because they've had. I mean, imagine if you was doing that at that age and fishing these qualifiers at like 14, 15, 16. I mean, I know they can't fish the final, but I mean, on a different, like, you know, just open matches in general, fishing them and going on these bigger matches at that age, you're going to be so good when you're 30, 31, 32. You're just going to be, you know what I mean? Especially
absolutely.
If you stick at it.
Stick at it, yeah. And that's, we'll get to sort of like the distractions and stuff later on, because I think we've all been down that route. But yeah, I know exactly. But I mean, it's one of them as well. The next gen piece on the fish show is a really good piece as well, because it gives that outlook for these youngsters coming through as well. So that's really good.
100%. Yeah, it's something that you need, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of, I'll be honest, David, there's a lot of anglers now that are like 50, 60. Do you know what I mean? Where's it going to be in 25 years without them?
Spot on.
Do you know what I mean?
Spot on. Yeah, I know. I realised when I was in my old club back in Manchester, when I think I was 32 when I joined it, and I was the youngest.
Yeah,
you know, and I don't think that's even changed
that's
now.
What I mean, that's no, and that you do see the trend. It's like, especially. I think there's more in club fishing. I know in open matches there's a lot of the young lads want to fish the opens, and your clubs are more. You do get a lot of the older lads because they don't take it as seriously. They still take it seriously, but not as seriously. And
well, I'll give you an idea though. Talking about opens, look at the attendances at Partridge of the over 50s compared to the normal opens. They're not far off the same.
60s, 70s, like going, it's mental in it.
It's a really good point. So it's probably something that, you know, we all need to, it's probably something I need to promote a bit more on this podcast, actually, about getting people into it. And I did do a piece on the last one around it is National Fishing Month. It started the 26th of July and finishes the end of August. There's loads of initiatives to take your kids out. There's loads of fisheries doing buy one, get one free. And you know, you can get free rod licenses to take someone out as well. So I'll just stick that in there as well whilst we're talking about it, because absolutely now's the time to get people out. So I guess then match fishing, and I listened to your story about your first match, and it was I laughed actually, because it was exactly the same as what I did. It was a school trip. My first match was exactly the same, and it was a history teacher, not a geography teacher.
Was it really?
He was a history teacher. He was an angler, and he did a similar thing. It's like you could go and watch a semi-pro football match, or you could go and watch a cricket match, or you could go and do this. And this guy said, "No, I'll run a fishing trip." And 40 of us went.
How many?
40.
40, yeah.
I'm
surprised there was that many who had gear and that.
Exactly, and that links back to what we've just discussed. Imagine trying to get 40 kids from a secondary school now fishing, who all had gear. We all had gear, and we all fished a little bit. Couldn't believe it.
Do you know what though? It's mad because there was no Xboxes and stuff back then. It was
distractions, absolutely, distractions. So much for them to do nowadays. But tell us about. Do you remember it, that first match?
Yeah. So because I did one every year after that as well. That was when I was young, but we kept it going. And I do remember it. So we didn't actually draw pegs. It wasn't like that. We just sat down wherever we wanted.
That's what we did as well, wherever you fancied. Yeah. It was like a rover.
To be fair as well, I think we was all fishing for like separate times. I think some of them was fishing for like 10 hours. Some of them was fishing for 4 hours. Because obviously some got there real early, do you know what I mean? And some were there for like mid-afternoon. But so I sat down on this peg, which is like it was where I used to always sit anyway. I used to, because I kind of it was in like a little bit of a corner, and it was just easier to get out of that way. It was because like you didn't want to carry your gear down, so it was like at the bottom of this hill, and then the lake bent round. So I sat there, and there was like it was weird because it was like loads of schoolmates and that was there as well.
Yeah, you can have a crack with them as well, then, can't you?
Yeah, and it was just like. Just do the usual. I just did what I usually did. I threw a load of mussels in and chucked a little waggler over the top, and it just started going under every now and again.
This mussel thing is brilliant.
It was just when you think back to it now, you cringe when you're saying it. Do you know what I mean? Because you're at that age, you just don't know. When you don't get shown, you're not gonna know, are you?
No, absolutely. And it's listening to those lads in a tackle shop and all the rest of it before you start moving on. And like you say, fishing these Wednesday matches that you then started going into. So what happened then? Did someone set you under the wing and put you right, or what?
Yeah, so I started fishing the Wednesday night matches, and I I didn't do very well to start with in them because obviously I just didn't have the right gear. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then about a year went by, and in that year, all my tackle just obviously improved because I had everything that I needed, and I learnt loads in that year. And I took to pearl fishing like so quickly, like. I remember people used to comment on it like how quick I've learned how to fish it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not something that's easy to do. I don't think with long pearl. But it was just like I just felt it felt easy to me, like to do. And in that year I started going to a different venue as well because I remember I went to see this venue. My dad took me actually on the way home from work once.
Yeah.
And it was somewhere, he knew the guy or knew someone who worked there because it's like, it's a fishery, but at the same time, it's like a DVLA site where they do all lorry training.
All right.
So it's a bit strange, but basically they do that in the car park at the other side. And then if you go a bit further up, there's like a dirt track and then there's a fishery at the bottom called Salostics.
Yeah.
So I used to go there and I was like, Dad, I need to go fish some matches here because it looked mint. Because like, there was people fishing at the same time. It's like 4 snake lakes kind of thing.
Okay.
So there's like a moat one. Sorry, it's 2 snake lakes and an open water one with like little islands in it. So there's like a moat one, and then there's another one like that with a bridge in it, and then there's another one which is like sort of like an oval shape with like 3 islands in it. And I was like, right, I need to come here because I was just getting bored at Risby and there was hardly any matches. So I knew there was matches on a Tuesday and a Thursday there. And I knew they were on a Saturday as well because I'd heard stories about it.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, I need to start going there instead. So I said to my mum, I was like, would you be able to take me on Tuesday? And she was like, yeah, no problem. I'll take you before work. And then obviously I'll pick you up at the end. What time do you need picking up? And I was like, well, to be fair, I don't even know what time the match finishes. In hindsight, it didn't really work because the match finished at 4:30, but then you didn't get weighed until 5:30, and it was like by the time you wanted picking up, it was 6, and obviously it was like my mum was waiting about. Anyway, so yeah, I started going there, and what happened was at first it was a little bit weird because they were a little bit funny with me fishing the matches because I was that young. Right?
How old are you at this point?
About 12.
Right.
And I didn't have an adult with me. They were a little bit thingy at first. There was like, we're not insured. I remember they used to say you need to have an adult with you.
Yeah.
And this bloke called Mick, it was like, it was quite old at the time, and I actually think he's passed away now,
right,
which is a bit sad. But he used to say, "Look, I'll be his guardian for the day." Do you know what I mean? So that was real nice of him, and I used to like sort of fish the match, even though he was like nowhere near me. I was like maybe 4 pegged or 2 lakes away. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah.
It sort of got round it, and he actually worked in Beverley Tackle Shop as well.
Okay.
On a Friday or a Sunday. He used to work there 1 day a week. Can't remember what day it was, but he did work there, and that's how I kind of knew him. Do you know what I mean? So It wasn't like he was just a random guy. And anyway, I started going there quite a lot, and it became like the only place I went for probably 4 years.
Right.
I'd say.
Okay. Yeah.
And the matches were big. On a Tuesday and a Thursday, they were like cost cutter matches. But on a Friday and a Saturday, there were 50 peggers.
Right.
There were big opens, like, and people used to travel from all over Yorkshire to go to that place, and it was like a little bit of a who's who at one point going there. There was like loads and loads of good anglers going.
What sort of winning weights? What was you putting in the net at this sort of age?
So I wasn't winning at that stage. It took me probably about another year after that to start winning. But what are your winning weights back then? You were looking at like between 80 and 120.
Right. So I'll give you an idea here now. I think and you between 12 and 16, and you was putting those sort of weights together. I didn't catch my first £100 till I was 30.
Yeah.
Like I had
Imagine it, yeah.
8 years away from it. Don't get me wrong. You know, I had 8 years not fishing, but when
Yeah.
I came back into it, you're all rusty and whatnot, and it took me a good 12 months before I caught my first 100 pound. So that gives you a bit of an idea. Is what a great start. You know,
Yeah.
you're just getting into your teenage years. Already, you've got this place nailed because you've been going 3 or 4 years. What sort of lads were going then? Was it the likes of Andy Geldart and?
So Andy Geldart, he went not all the time, but he used to come now and again. Joe Harris,
Yeah.
who else? Mick Lodge, Andy Quarmby. There was like Steve Gregory.
Yeah.
There was Adi Mitchell. There was like, I'd say that doesn't even name them all because a lot of them were mint at the time and they probably don't go fishing as much now. But
yeah.
Like there was anglers that went there and they were like they were good. Do you know what I mean? Like they used
the best as they were.
Very, very, very good. And there was like 45 going every single week. So I think that kind of helped a lot because
100%.
You just soak it up. Do you know what I mean? And like you're just around them all the time. So they'll say little things or you'll hear little things and you just become second nature to do and follow, do you know?
Were they all willing to help you with you being so young as well?
Well, some of them were, some of them were. I think like some of them I probably just got on the tits a bit.
What, asking too many questions?
Yeah, but because I used to just pack up early half the time and just go and like walk about and do you know what I mean? And like and just sit behind them and that and because that's what you do when you're that age. You're not competing. You know, all you want to do is learn. That's all you want to do. You know, you're not really bothered about sitting there and trying to win because you're not good enough to win yet. Do you know what I mean? You want to learn and you want to get there. So I used to do that quite a lot. And I probably did annoy a few people along the way, but it is what it is, isn't it? That's totally. The only way to improve is to do that, really. In my opinion.
Brilliant.
But it was awesome, mate, that place.
No, it sounds it. And I mean, that's what a grounding to get you to sort of, up to the level you need to be. And like I say, it's interesting that I think Andy Bennett was similar. I think he just dived straight in with matches, opens, straight in. It wasn't no club fishing or anything, very similar sort of background. I think he fished a few naturals as well, a few of the big reses and what. But in terms of match fish, it was like bang, straight into opens on. I think it used to go a place called Brooksides where I used to go.
I've heard of that Brooksides. Yeah, I've heard of it.
Over in Warrington at the time. You're going back 20 years ago is when I used to fish it quite a bit. And that was a real buzzing scene. You'd get, like say, 50, 60 on the opens. And, to be thrown in like that, similar sort of grounding for you. So, no, great. From then, I know, like, it's an interesting one for you here. So let me open something up just whilst we're talking. Right. I'm from the Northwest. You're a Yorkshireman.
Yeah.
How many people do you think, if we took a line and drew it across from, say, I don't know, I live in Lincolnshire now, so let's say from Nottingham, Lincolnshire, Nottingham, Sheffield-ish, up, how many Fishermania winners do you think are from the north and how many are below that line? What do you reckon?
So how many do I think are below the north?
Yeah, how many do you think are from down south, if we want to call below Nottingham down south?
Right, okay.
I've won Fishermania. Right, okay.
So how many from down south? I'd say the majority are from north.
100%, mate. 100%. And it's just, what is it about northern anglers and these big matches that sort of we seem to do so well? And I know the scene is more buoyant in the north than it is down south. There's a lot of carp lads down in the south, and the lads and lasses who want the big fish. But I had a quick scan through and right the way through from '94, which is the first Fishermania. Ian Turner won, and he was from Worksop.
Yeah, and then you've got Yorkshire, innit?
Yorkshire, Nottinghamshire border, Then you've got Andy Jennings, Wakefield, Dave Pimlock, Manchester. And then you've got a little bit of southern action, Kevin Rowles from Devizes, which is in Wiltshire, and then the Ringers, which is sort of Northamptonshire way. But then Steve Cook, Retford, Steve Jackson, Bridgewater. But then pretty much you could even throw Nathan Watson in as north because he's north Lincolnshire.
Yeah. So Nathan's like Grimsby area.
Exactly. He's from Louth. And then you just go right the way through. A couple of Midlands lads in there more recently, like Pete Black. But in Shane Atkin, Northern lad. Warren Martin would be East Anglia way. But and then obviously you've got the era of Jamie Hughes, Andy May, Bennett, and whatnot. So there's something there.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Do you think it's a coincidence though, or not?
Listen, I'm asking you, mate. I mean, I could go even. I thought I'd go into it.
To know what you think first.
Well, if I'd have done me research properly, I would have probably gone into Match This and looked at the stats around that as well. But I mean, you've got some different ones there. You got Andy Power and all the rest of it. But why do I think? Well, we're a bit biased, aren't we? Because it's two Northerners talking together. But I think it's because it's hard, mate. To be honest, I think it's in general the fishing's very competitive. I think the fishing's can be really, really tough, even in summer. Sometimes it can be iffy, and you just learn those little tips and tricks that can get you a bite. I don't know whether it's a stop.
That could be a factor. I think definitely. I think I've got the thing is I fish with a lot of the southern lads as well. I fish with in UK champs and stuff, and I've been down to Whiteacres quite a
well. This is where my conversation's leading exactly. Yeah. So yeah,
and there are some like absolutely like unbelievable anglers in the south, like Paul Holland, Will Raisin, like all them lot, and there's some like Pem. All them
Tony Curd, that lad travels hundreds and hundreds of miles on these qualifiers.
You could just go on all night with like how many good ones there is in the south, like just as much as you could with the north. But I think there's more anglers in the north than there is in the south as well. I think
match fishing. I think so. I'd love to see those stats actually. Those sales,
and I think as well. I think we get to practice the venues we get to practice Hayfield and Cudmore and the places what are in the final more than they do because it's such a long way from them. However, I still, it's a real hard one, but there's definitely, there's with it just being a lot more northern anglers, it is an hard one to put your finger on. I think there must be a few variables in there, but like I don't know.
I stitched you up with that question, haven't I?
Yeah, mate, massively, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's one of those where I just the proof's in the pudding. All I've done is, mate, I've just opened up fishermania.net, click on history, and you can see, and you can go through certainly the last 10 years.
Yeah.
In fact, looking at the last 10 years, so from 2011 when Shane Atkin won it, right up to yourself, there's only Pete Black, who's a Brummie. Take Warren Martin out of it, but 9 out of 10 have been Yorkshire Northwest. It's a crazy stat.
It's crazy that, to be fair, because like it's just like it's a lot of it's a big difference in it. Do you know what I mean? It's not like 30-70. It's like it's massive in it.
But it's an interesting one. I think going back to one of my podcasts, I had a similar conversation with, I think it was with Darren Cox, because he wrote an article in I think it was the Angling Times or one of the magazines anyway. And he was saying about the lack of sales of big qualifiers in the south. So they've had to move qualifiers further north.
Is that what he was saying? Yeah.
Yeah. What he sees from his tackle sales from Garbolino is all his, because obviously Garbolino is mainly a match brand.
Yeah,
all from the Midlands up the sales. You can see it.
So it's all Midlands and North,
pretty much. Whereas
nothing in the south.
It'd be a conversation to have with Matt one day and the guys at Guru, because I'm sure they see their Corda sales are like mad down the south with obviously the carp fishing, and the match fishing gear is probably Midlands North again. I don't know, but it's just an interesting one to discuss. Right.
And to be fair, Matt did actually touch on it. To be fair, he mentioned it like briefly because. He took me around the Guru.
How was that? Yeah, tell everyone about how was Corda Towers.
Yeah, class place that. Yeah, unbelievable. Like I didn't expect it to be that big. To be honest, it was like it was massive. And then they've got the massive warehouse where they store everything. It was mint place that. Absolutely, there weren't that many people there because I think at the minute a lot of them are still working from home. But
of course,
I think when it all gets back to normal, it must be a class place to work that because everyone's just like it's just fishing mad.
Fishing mad, yeah.
So it just looked real cool, you know what I mean? But yeah,
I bet
it was a nice place. But yeah, he touched on it briefly. But to be fair, I can't really remember what figures he said. But yeah, they definitely have more sales, I think, in the north and Manchester and stuff. It was mentioned in Manchester and like all this area more than the more than the south, even with Guru.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's it's partly to do with the lack of venues, lack of choice.
It is, of course, it is,
and you know
that's got to be it, hasn't it? Lack of anglers as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I know Paul Holland travels like all the way to Tunnel Barn, just to fish. It's mad, isn't it? It's like an hour and 45 minutes to fish an open match.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's a long way, just to sort of, yeah, it is. But moving on to that then, so we've moved from being a teenager, learning your trade, cutting your teeth up there in Yorkshire. We've had a discussion about how, serial winners from the north, these big matches, UK champs. So, and as this comes back to me point at the start, is that you might not necessarily be a household name as such, because not necessarily in the magazines all the time. You've already said as well, you're not a big sort of blogger, Facebook, social media, so you're not out there as such. But in amongst that, what I'd call elite circle of anglers that I'm certainly not in, I'm just a club angler, mate, to be quite honest. But these lads who travel around doing the qualifiers, doing the festivals, you're well known in those circles. So tell us a little bit about the UK champs, and specifically back down south, Whiteacres. How did all that start?
So I started getting back into fishing again about 3 years ago. It was, and to be fair, I started just going back to Sykehouse a bit, and my mate was like, "Right, I'm going to get on UK champs next year." So I fished UK champs once, like last year, and I'm in it this year.
Yeah.
But to be fair, that's like I don't really. It's a weird one, the UK champs, because it's like a festival, but it's over like 4 days.
Yeah.
So you're at all different venues. So the venues that they use at the moment, the new format, they're using Allcroft, Decoy, the Glebe, and Barston.
Okay.
So I'll run you through last year's little UK champs campaign, what I had. So started off at Allcroft. How did I get on there? Can't even remember where I drew. Right. I drew 25 on the Mert Outer, so I was on the Mert Lake at Allcroft. Now, that one's like, I'd say it's probably the hardest carp venue to fish in the country.
It's a big unit. It's massive. What is it, 160 pegs?
Yeah, 180 odd pegs.
Yeah.
It's probably the biggest expanse of water I've ever fished on a commercial ever,
and it's deep as well. Just for the listeners that have not fished
it's a level 6-7 foot all the way like into the middle. It's a deep open water. The fish are very, very old. It's not somewhere I go much, David. If I'm honest, I try to stay a bit closer. Allcroft's like an hour and 20 from me.
Yeah.
So it's not like I won't go there, but obviously, I've got venues closer to me that I can fish. You know what I mean? So I go to them instead. But I do always enjoy going there because it's such a, put it this way, you won't ever go anywhere like it in this country, because it is so difficult. Like, the fish are like so clever. It's unbelievable at Allcroft.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I started off there, and I can't even remember who was in my section though. So I had like Speedy, Ollie Scott on, Ben Bell. I think he was a bit further up. Then there was like a few others. It was a good set. It was an hard section, that first one, to be fair.
Sounds it, yeah.
Fared in that section. First round. So I was happy with that from where I drew, and I think I had 9 carp and 2 skimmers for £89.
Shows you the stamp, yeah.
Yeah, so the great big massive things. So I was like onto a decent, half decent start, and then was at Decoy next round. Drew on Beastie peg 5. That section again was just Superstar Central. I think I had Powers in the section.
That's a good way of putting things. Yeah,
it was mad that day. It was like Andy Powers, me, Dave Bailey, Chris Barley, Stephen Forster, Jimmy Brooks, just like...
Do you know when you say that now, Superstar Central, do you not see yourself in that?
Well, I'm quite modest, mate, so I don't really, like, I do know my limits in fishing, do you know what I mean? I'm not saying... I feel like I can beat anyone on my day, but obviously I don't like to sort of blow my own trumpet, because I just
no,
can't.
but you know now though, you will be sort of spoke about in that breath.
Yeah,
So
of course.
there'll be some lad now who's telling his mate in a few weeks' time or whatever, say, "Oh, I drew the section of death, Superstar Central. I had Harry Bignell on one peg, I had Andy Geldart on the other. I had, Alan Scott on." So you will be spoken about like that from now on. It's funny.
Yeah, but I suppose it's that transition period, isn't it? And like you do, I'm still only 30, so
yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's weird, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. So yeah, Decoy. Anyway. Sorry, I interrupted you. So how did you get on Beastie?
So I was like that day. I was like, I think I was like 4th in section that day. Real disappointed because I was like, I couldn't have won it, but I could have definitely sneaked another couple of points that day. Just made some bad decisions, really. I think I rushed a little bit towards the end. I tried fishing the edges. I should have just fished deep water down the edge instead of shallow water. Because there were big fish and they were just I didn't need to be fishing in such shallow water there, but I just got told by Tom Edwards that I needed to fish like that, and it turns out I didn't need to fish like that. Just little things like I should have just done my own thing that day because I'd never fished the lake. I listened to Tom and
it's you find that a lot on these sort of matches because, like you just said, Aldcroft you probably wouldn't go. You probably know it historically anyway. But somewhere like Decoy, which is, mate, that's past where I live. That's an hour from me, so it's a trek from you. Do you rely on local knowledge, or do you just go with your instincts?
I do always ask people because, like, I've got a lot of mates like in fishing. Do you know what I mean? Who I can look at, who I can like ring or whatever, and they'll go to these venues because obviously I've been around like quite a long time, so I know quite a lot of people. And I'll always, if I'm going somewhere, I'll be like, right, I'm off here, I'll give Thingy a ring. But sometimes that isn't always the best way to go because you've all got like I've always said this. Everyone's got like a certain style of where they fish, and if you listen to someone like and do what they tell you to do, or like that, sometimes it works against. It works not in your favour because that's what they do, but like you don't fish like that. Do you know what I mean? So you're never ever going to really do it properly or like think you're going to be doing. It's weird. Like someone said to me, right, how do you fish here? Like someone rang me up and said, like, well, I'm off to Ayfield tomorrow, Harry. What do I want to be doing? I'd say, right, well, depending on where you draw, I'd fish shallow, right, and then. That's probably all I'd say. I'd be that single man. I'd just say, right, fish shallow, long, and on the deck, just ping up and down. Whereas if they rang someone like, I don't know, someone else, they might say, right, well, I'd just fish a waggler all day.
I'll let waggler or something,
yeah, or I'd fish a method, or so both can work. But obviously, it's what you know what I mean. The fishing, there's no right or wrong. Sometimes there's other ways, there's other methods that can work on certain days, but. So I think sometimes you've got to like go with your gut instinct on venues. Like, well,
there's an old saying that I've said a few times on this podcast that always reminds me. It was from Roy Marlowe, told me years ago, and it's one that I'd always pass on to anybody. He says, "Do what you know, not what you think you know."
Yeah, that's it. That's 100% right. Yeah, 100%. I think that's good advice for anyone. You go if you think something in fishing and you think like that's what I want to do. Then go and do what you think because that 9 times out of 10, if you think it and you've got a good angling brain, then it's the right thing. Yeah. So you should never ever copy anyone because you'll only ever come second by copying someone. Yeah. Like you won't ever
what
win.
Would you say your strength is then?
What in fishing?
Yeah.
Well, like long pole fishing, like is like what I do. Like that's what I do best.
Yeah.
Shallow on the pole, and I don't know. I'd say my strength is just carp rather than F1s. Like I don't fish for F1s much.
That's interesting.
I used to fish for F1s at Lindholm. I had a little stint at Lindholm about 4 or 5 years ago, and I did all right to be fair, but I didn't actually like enjoy it at all. Like fishing for F1s, it just bored me. Yeah. Like I just prefer going and fishing for carp, but. Some people like doing a bit of both. Some people, you know what I mean? Look, I can go and fish an F1 venue if I want to. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like I don't know what I'm doing, but I just prefer doing that type of fishing because I'm better at carp fishing, 100%. And I think you can be a little bit less. You don't have to do as much prep with carp. Like F1s, you have to do a lot more prep. You have to have a lot more rigs.
Yeah, a lot more. You have to have a lot
more diverse hook lengths. Whereas you have to have your 3-inch, your 2-inch, your 4-inch. You don't have to do that with carp. You can tie everything up at 6-inch, or you can tie everything up at 8-inch. Chop them down to size if you need to. You can make your rigs on the bank, Dave. It in always as. Don't get me wrong. I should do more prep than I do, but sometimes the matches that I fish, I'm fishing UK champs, I'm fishing festivals, and I'm fishing like qualifiers. You get 2.5 hours to set up.
Yeah,
so exactly. You're not in a rush. No. You know what I mean? If I was fishing and you got an hour to set up, I wouldn't be able to get away with doing what I do. But I'll be honest. In my kitchen, I've got 10 Guru boxes just absolutely full of hook lengths. I've got 1,050 hook lengths.
Oh my word! Yeah,
ready to go.
Yeah,
but that's what I do. I just tie 1,000 up at once. It'll take me like 10 days.
Yeah,
and then they're done.
They're done then. Yeah.
I don't have that many rigs like as such. I just have float boxes. I'll get to my peg and I'll decide what rigs I want on the day. That's just how I fish, mate. It's
your strength.
Some people say you shouldn't do it like that. Some people say you should, but carp, you don't have to have trays and trays of rigs, mate. In my opinion, all you do is you take the year and you just snap them all up, mate.
Yeah.
At the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's just what you do. That's just how I've always thought of it.
Yeah. No, I get it totally. Yeah, that's like you say, it's the way it works for you, and it's your strength, and that's what's most important. Which great.
Yeah.
So we talk about beasties, and you maybe slipped up a little bit taking on that local knowledge.
Fourth in section on beastie that day. Made a few errors as I just touched on then, with decisions and stuff, and obviously it cost me that day, and I ended up fourth instead of. Really, I should have been second. But anyway, that you know what I mean? I just put that behind me. Yeah. Then was at the Glebe on the third round, and I was on Lake 1 peg. I was in the 20s. I can't remember exactly what peg it was, but it was high up in the 20s. It was probably like 25, 24 area. Yeah. And I fished casters up and down on the long pole that day. And I had about £100 bang on, won the section that day. So I was kind of like all to play for Barston.
Yeah, dead right.
And Barston is somewhere I've not really been that much. I've been like, I've probably fished Barston about 4 times previous to that. And like every time I've been to Barston before that, whether it was like a qualifier or whether it was like anything, like even if I've just been up, because I've just been up there for other things as well. Like I remember there was it was like a charity shield match up there once, and I fished that. And
yeah, they have all trade shows.
Barston Masters qualifier, whatever. Yeah. So every time I've been, I've come off my box and I've been like, I've just left loads of fish in my peg. I should have just fished for silvers. Like that's how I've felt every time I've been. Like I've maybe had like £50, but I feel like I could have had like £70 of silver every time. And I thought, right, do you know what? Like I knew I couldn't win. I knew I couldn't win UK champs that year. I could obviously come in the top 10, but I couldn't really win it because Andy Powell was on 3 points going into the last day. So unless he came last, which won't going to happen.
Not going to happen. No.
No. Then obviously no one could win but him. So it was like, right, let's just like try and get a result here and like just don't come off your peg again feeling like you've left flipping 30, 40, 50, 60
yeah.
overs in it. Do you know what I mean? Because in me, I always like to feel like I've done my best. So what it was that day, a couple of weeks before that match, my mate Ryan Lidgard on the phone, and this is why it's so good to have mates who go fishing at the same sort of matches as you.
Yeah.
It was like, mate, he knows I love fishing meat on the long pole for skimmers and that, and fishing deep shallow. And it was like, mate, I'd just go fish meat. Wakeling's been doing it. And he's been catching like 60, 70, 80 pound of skimmers. Yeah, and I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, honestly, mate. It was like, Dio put a video up of him fishing meat on the long pole on this like whatever it was, like teaser video. So and then I stumbled across it. I was like, oh yeah. So I was like, you know what I mean? Obviously, if meat, the thing is, when it's meat and the skimmers want meat, it's the best bait in the world. I think.
Why do you think that is?
Because you just don't catch small ones on it. You want to catch like
selective.
Yeah. That's why. Because you could go in on like Expander and catch a shit fish every chuck.
Yeah, you get tiny little blades.
Yeah. Put a piece of meat on them because you feed in a bigger particle as well. It singles out them better fish. So anyway, I fished meat on a long pole that day. I decided I was going to do it back to back, and then I had £100 of skimmers.
Brilliant! Like, what a day's fishing that is.
Skimmers, and won the section that day as well.
So it's not all about carp then, is it, mate? Crikey, smash that out.
Yeah. So like, and John Arthur was next to me that day, and he only had £40, and he fished corn. No, he didn't. He fished worms and casters. And Craig Edmonds was the other side, Trig. He fished corn. He had 45. John Arthur had 41. And I had £100 fish meat. It was the right bait on the day. And it's one of them occasions where I will say, if they'd have fished meat and I'd have fished meat, we'd have all caught, but I wouldn't have had a ton. But they did not want to eat corn or casters, because I was feeding that, and that's what they wanted to eat on the day. And it wasn't just because I was on them. There'll have been skimmers all along that bank. You know what I mean? Skimmers are one of them sort of fish where they're not like carp. They'll move a bit. Do you know what I mean? It's not just a shoal in front of you that won't move. They're not like that. And it took 3 or 4 hours for me to actually start catching them properly anyway. I knew they were in my peg. I knew they were in the area because I was catching an odd one anyway. But it takes a while.
What peg was that? Do you remember?
Hey?
What peg was that? Do you remember?
Oh, hang on, let me have a look.
Was it on the riverside or on the?
I was on the road bank. So it'll have been about peg 98 or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
99. Yeah. So yeah, right up the top of the road bank, Dave. If
so was you not tempted to whack out a feed or anything? Did you just have your mind set on? I'm going to get these?
Started on a PVA bomb. Started on a bomb and PVA with like 18 little sauce pellets in it and 2 red pellets on the hook.
Yeah.
Started on that for 10 minutes and I just thought, do you know what? Sack this off because don't you? Yeah. There was no way I was sitting at Barston again waiting 2 hours for him. No. It just wasn't going to happen, not on that match. So I wanted a carp area anyway. And I think, to be honest, that it's one of them methods that that meat on there, I can guarantee, because so many people were shocked like that, fished it that year. They were like, "What? You've had £100 of skimmers on meat at Barston?" I was like, "Yeah." Brilliant. And like, so yeah, it was mental, mate. That, and then I think I ended up 7th in UK Champs last year, but I was a little bit disappointed that I didn't come a bit higher up because, like, 1 point at Allcroft, Speedy won the section at Allcroft with 91, and I was fared with 89.4 or something, and Ben Bell was second with 89.14. So it's like, Allcroft, like £2 is nothing, like, and I lost one down the edge, so I could have won the section that day 100%. And then that decoy, I could have been second, or well, maybe not second actually. I could have been third. So it's near enough, and not far off a perfect score. That is it. Do you know what I mean? Just a few little things along the way, but fishing's like that. Like everyone can always look back in hindsight and think, do you know what I mean? If I'd have just done this, or if I'd have just done that, but the bottom line is you didn't. Do you know what I mean? Like,
ultimately,
you've done now. Just forget about it and just move on, because if you can keep, you know what I mean, don't you?
Totally get it. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of them. You can reflect on things and learn from them, but you can't change it. So you just got to swallow it and crack on, I guess. But was there a similar scenario at Whiteacres then? Did you you did really well in a couple of festivals down there, didn't you?
So yeah, Whiteacres was a weird one because it was a little bit of a transition period for me. From I'd never really fished open waters at all. Like I'd not. Obviously now it's all I fish, like, and I have done for the past sort of 5 years. But like at that time when I started going to Whiteacres, all I fished was a venue called Moorfields in Gull, so it's like a snake lake. So I went there. It was a bit like, this is weird. Do you know what I mean? Like deep lakes. I had like the right gear for them because I knew what I needed, but it was like deep lakes, very varied fishing. Like
every day different.
Yeah. Every day was different. You needed to do a little bit of everything. Obviously, I was sort of like way out of my depth at first. Like I didn't really know what I was doing, if you know what I mean. I knew I knew what to do, but I just didn't know how to put it into practice, if you know what I mean. I didn't know when to sort of do the certain things. And it's obviously Whiteacres is one of them venues that's proper, like, massively talked about. It has been for a long time. And there's in magazine features, like, you know, that go back like 10, 15, 20 years, all about Whiteacres and festivals. And so you do have a little bit of an understanding of the venue anyway. And to be honest, David, I had been to Whiteacres like a few times, or at least 2 times before, but not on festivals, just like looking about, you know, like fishing in little matches and pleasuring. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I didn't know the venue. So anyway, I went on my first one, and I can't remember where I came. Like, if I'm honest, I came quite far down. It was like maybe 40th, 50th, something like that. But I did have one decent. I had a couple of all right results, a couple of thirds, and then I had a massive, some proper bomb on Porth. I proper bombed out. Didn't even take a feeder rod on Porth. Just thought I'd get away with fishing the pearl all day.
Yeah,
that was like massive, like wrong decision. Do you know what I mean?
Blowing a hoolie, could only fish for like 4 meters and stuff like that.
Just horrendous. Like, I was next to MPEG, and like, yeah, it was just like, that was a big thing. And like Twin Oaks, I drew shocking, but I fished the wrong bait, and like, it was one of them where I came back, and it just pushed me. Like, I thought, right, I needed this. Like, I needed to go somewhere and get like battered, because otherwise, you know, I'd have just stayed on these Snake Lakes. So anyway, I came home from that festival, that first one, and I looked and I thought, I was probably about 24, 25 at the time. Maybe 20, I don't know, 20, early 20s, mate, I'll have been. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Young kid.
Yeah.
Young lad. I'm looking, I'm thinking, right, I had like a little plan. I thought I'll write down what I did and what I should have done, and then obviously when I go back with Bouvet in September, because we booked on the other one, I was like, even if I don't like think it, at least I can look at that. I know it's a different time here, but so anyway, I did that, and I wrote down what I should have done on these pegs and that, and I went back in the autumn on the Maver with my mate Mark, who don't even go fishing anymore. He should do, because he was decent, but he stopped going.
Yeah.
And yeah, we went back down on that one. It was a little bit different weather and that, and I was driving down there, and I was like proper confident. Like, I thought, I know what I'm doing here. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know what I'd do on this area, and I I spoke to a few people, and I was just thinking, right, I'm just going to catch them. I'm catching them this time here.
Yeah.
So, first day, it was the Maverfest. First day was on Tree Waters, I think it was. And I was second in section that first day. My mate Mark beat me off. He beat me. I can't remember where.
The lad who you went down with, your mate?
Lad who we went down with, Mark beat me.
Brilliant.
Beat me by an ounce. And I think he might have even been, he was like a couple of pegs down from where I was. And to be honest, it was one of them where, like, I wasn't even that bothered. Do you know what I mean? It was, but I was like, at least
right, first and second with you, mate.
Yeah. So I was like, decent start. I was like, right, second start. It's the decent, even if it's your dropper, it's a good dropper. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So next day, where was we? Twin Oaks. Was it Twin Oaks next day on? Yeah, it was. And I drew peg 14 on Twin Oaks. I can't remember what weight I had. I think I had about 196 pound. Wow. And I fished shallow long on the pearl, and then I fished meat short. And it was just like, after that match, I was like, right, this is, I can't, do you know what I mean? I knew I was drawing good as well. I was drawing decent pegs, and I was like, right, I need to keep drawing like this. I'm on, like, you know, when you got that momentum and you think, right, wherever I draw now, I'm just going to catch.
Yeah.
And then on the Wednesday, I was on Porth, and I drew in a real hard section that day. I can't remember exactly who was in it. I know Mikey Williams was in it, Lee Riley, and there was a few real good anglers in my section that day, and I just thought, right. And I'd looked at the results from the day before, and I'd spoken, I think it might have been Simon Colclough, and I'd said to him, I was like, how did you catch? And he was like, I've just caught roach on the short pearl, and he won the section off my peg. Right? I can't remember what weight he had, but anyway, I fished for roach short on the short pearl, fished them for maggots, and I think I had like 12 pound of roach,
nice,
a little perch on the short pearl, and won the section that day. And I was like, and Boovy said, "This is your week, this week." And I was like, do you know what? Like, I was just proper feeling it everywhere I drew. I was just confident. Yeah. And then was on Belingi, and me and Cameron Hughes were both doing well the festival that week, and he ended up joining my section. Was both on like level points. I think was both like third and fourth in the festival by this point. No, he didn't. He didn't join my section. He drew on my lake, but he wasn't in my section. He was on like the end peg on Belingi, which is like 27, which is like the one where the bridge goes across. I don't know whether you've ever been.
I've never been Belingi, no. I've been Whiteacres long time ago, but them two, Porth and Belingi.
Belingi, yeah. Belingi's weird, like real night, like real mint lake, but it's like real like higgledy-piggledy, like there's little pegs like here, there and everywhere. It's crazy, like, and it goes all the way around the back, then there's an island.
Yeah, it backs on itself a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and now it got obviously split into 3 lakes, but I was on the first one you come to out the car park on the right-hand side. I'll have been in like the 40s, maybe like peg 39 or something, 38. Anyway, Cameron was a further up, but we was both doing well in the festival. And he won his section, and I was second that day. So it put us on like level points. I think I had £110. Lee Riley won the section with a silly weight, like 150. And then obviously I was going into the last day, and I had 2 2s and 2 1s, which is like 34 points.
Mm-hmm.
And like that usually gets you framing anyway there. So I was like, right, even if I don't win on Poloing tomorrow, at least I'll probably still be in the top 10.
Yeah.
Anyway, went on Poloing, and it just like, when it's your week, innit? And I ended up winning the section on there as well. I had like £80 of like all sorts really that day. I caught some barbel. Just like I fished meat short pretty much all day because it was mega windy. I fished long pole with me to start with and come short a little bit earlier than I thought I was going to have to. And yeah, just £80 that day. So like second festival, and I ended up third. So I was like, right, this is what I want to do now. Like, I'll just concentrate on all my fishing throughout the year, and I'll just like make sure I'm prepped for Whiteacres, because it was like a little bit of a thing then. It qualifiers where it really is big. The where match this then, and the one for Golden Reel. Obviously, Fishomania was about, but it wasn't like qualifier after I tell you when it was the time, David. It was the time when everyone rushed to get Fishomania tickets.
Yeah.
And if you weren't lucky, you might not get none.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah,
like,
I know exactly.
That was the era. Like, I'm going back here like 7, 8, 9 years.
It's probably when I used to fish a few, and I remember trying to get on. Yeah, you're right. I was trying to get on the one. What's the one at Thirsk? Woodlands.
Was it? Yeah, Woodlands. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to get on there, and the other one not far, the Oaks. To try and get ticket. I remember, that was about 2012, 2013, around that sort of time. And yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Trying to get tickets was a nightmare. Yeah,
absolute nightmare. So it was like that was when it was, and it's your year one. It wasn't like bombarded with qualifiers. Like, you know, Whiteacres was the thing, because it was like that was where all the best anglers got together, and like that was where you made a name for yourself. Like, you weren't making a name for yourself doing anything else but Whiteacres. That was the key thing. Like, if you were doing well at Whiteacres, then you got noticed.
Yeah.
If you were doing well anywhere else, it was hard to, because Whiteacres was like the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? It was like where everyone wanted to be and doing well. So I was buzzing. Like, to come third on my second festival, I was like, right, you know, that's what I'll start doing.
Do you think that's changed now then? Because you think the scene's been fragmented a bit, because you have got Match This, you have got Feeder, Golden Reel, Feeder Masters. You know, there's not as much. There's so much choice now.
I think so. Don't get me wrong, right? The festivals are still very well attended. I think they're still getting 180. I know that a lot of your anglers, that like your ringers, I mean, Will Raisin don't go there anymore. When I was going, it was just like crazy, mate. It was just like the who's who. And
Superstar Central, as you
anymore. Yeah. I think a lot of them stopped in a similar time to when I stopped, because the reason I stopped was because I couldn't even get on the festivals. I missed 1 year, and then after that, it was like, sorry, your place has gone.
Right.
And now I haven't been back since. So I've only actually fished 4 Whiteacres festivals in my life.
Right.
I've never fished any more than that because after I missed
Get on them.
I couldn't get on them, and I've not been back
crazy.
since. And I tried to get on last year, and someone actually got on the reserve list that was after the reserve list. I don't know how it happened, but there was a mix-up last year, so I couldn't go. And then I tried to get on. I've messaged this year, and they haven't even got back to me. So I'm like, do you know what I mean?
And there's me thinking to myself, oh, I wouldn't mind having a nobble at that. I've got no chance if you got like a years and years waiting list. Crikey.
Yeah. It's like you can't seem to get on a festivals, David. I don't know what it is, mate. I don't know whether it's like they're not bothered because they've got their numbers, or it's fair enough. I mean, you miss your place, but
yeah,
they're still hard to get on. But I think
so it's still there, but it's whether it's just the standards as it was, and it's interesting.
The standard's still going to be strong, but there's a lot less. There's a lot less anglers going that I recognise now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like there might be like 180 names. I might only know like 70 names, but just because you don't know the other 110 don't mean they're not good.
No,
it can be awesome. I don't know everyone. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you just don't. It's like someone said to me the other week about this year's UK champs. There was like, oh, there's something like dross fishing it. I was like, what are you on about? Like, how do you know like who everyone is? Do you know what I mean? Like, how can you even like come out with something like that? But
yeah, you don't know, do you? That's the thing. And if they got their ass slapped on the next peg, they'd soon shut up as well.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. So I don't really agree with people saying stuff like that, but it's like I do think that there's 100% agree with what you were saying in terms of there's too much now. It's too much choice. People can go down so many different routes with their fishing now. The Whiteacres it's been like a bit forgotten about by a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, that's what it seems to me. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's interesting. What about here's one for you, coming up to a bit more sort of modern times now, and obviously where you were with your win recently. What about team fishing? You done any team fishing?
I haven't done any like seriously. I fish with Garbally and Orsett for like about 4 weeks.
Was that like a short-term signing? Did he have injury problems?
I fished like one match for him. It was Commercial National about 6 years ago, something.
Yeah.
They asked me to fish, so I fished, and then that was the only match I fished for him.
Right. Short and sweet.
Like, that was it. My team fishing career was over.
Well, obviously, that was a rubbish question, wasn't it?
And then I fished for Leeds Juniors when I was young, and I fished like a couple of nationals for them. But I fished with Barnsley. I fished with Barnsley Juniors as well.
Right. Okay. I thought you were going to say Barnsley Blacks then.
No. I've never fished for them. I fished with Barnsley Juniors with Les and Brandon Fowler and that.
Yeah.
And Wilton. And Alex
what would you say if they asked you Barnsley Blacks?
Barnsley Blacks? No, they won't ask me, mate. I don't do any of that type of fishing.
Listen, they fish the Commercial National, and they've got other sort of stuff like leagues.
Obviously, I would, mate, but I do know a lot of them well. I know the full team well, so it's like. Of
course.
But I don't know. With me in team fishing, it's not something that I really would be that interested in because I'm not like. I don't know what it is. I'm just too in with my own thing. Like what I want to do, I know what I want, and like
you're a lone ranger, aren't you, mate? You don't want to be dictated to by tackle companies. You don't want to be told how to fish for a team or stick to rules and whatever. You want to fish for yourself and do it right.
I just go and do my own thing, and like I've got my own way of thinking, and I think that it works for me. So anything that can disrupt that is like a no for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally get it. That's quite an interesting way of focusing, to be fair. It's probably got you how you did. So you qualified this year right up to modern times. And so I'm not going to go into the tackle, the techniques and all the rest of it. You've done all that. And I think it's fair to say for those of us that watched it on the telly as well, you absolutely smashed it. What was it, 85 kilo, around 65 kilo above second, I think.
Yeah.
But to get there, obviously qualification makings, probably another venue that you wouldn't normally travel to. It's right out of the way, isn't it? Midlands. But this grounding that we've been talking about, these techniques for carp, this understanding how carp fish. Again, did you just turn up there, get a bit of local info, and just do your thing, or what?
Yeah, pretty much. I've fish makings once before in a commercial national with Barnsley Juniors, so I kind of knew a little bit about it, but I'm not on that phase. So all I did was I looked at weather forecast. I'll be honest. I looked at the weather forecast. It said 22 degrees, overcast, and hardly any wind. And knowing what was in the lake, obviously, I'd looked on Facebook at the commercial, the junior national results, and I looked on that, and I looked at Lake 5, and I saw what won the lake, and I think that lake won the whole match.
Yeah,
and it was like a little bit further down from where I'd drawn, and opposite it, so like further down the lake and opposite bank, and I know that it got one fishing shallow on the pearl. So I thought, right, that's all I'm doing then. I'm just going to fish shallow all day, back to back. That's all I set up. I set a deck rig up as well, but I didn't set no rods up. I didn't set anything else up. I just set that up. Everyone was like, "Are you setting a method up to that island?" I was like, "Nah, mate." So anyway, I've just gone and fished shallow.
No margin or out like that, just literally
no,
shallow.
Mate. Nah. I didn't even bother. I didn't even bother with short pearl. Didn't bother with margins, because on these qualifiers, margins very rarely work anyway, because obviously you've got someone sat on your tiptoes, and like short pearl only works usually if it's blowing an absolute gale. In them conditions, you generally never catch anything anywhere past sort of like 13 metres usually, in my opinion, just going off past qualifiers. So I've done that all day. Just fish shallow on the long pearl, fed next to nothing. I had my mate Chris Barley, who was next to me. We're both neck and neck all day, pretty much, like going up to about 2 o'clock, and then his pegs faded and mine got stronger towards the end, and I ended up obviously winning it with 179, which was, I think, £50 clear of second place on the day as well. So it was like a comfortable one, that, do you know what I mean? And I knew going into that last hour that I'd win the match as well. Do you know what I mean? Because I knew that it wasn't going to fish as well as my mate Les come behind me and said, "Look, you'll win it. Definitely win it today." So it was like it was a decent match. That it was a real, I wouldn't say a simple match, because there was a few little things that I did that I think was the reason why I caught. But it was a nice day, and it hopefully I'll, you know what I mean, draw the same peg next year at Makins.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what's it feel like when you know you've won and you know you're going to be in the final? Does the prep start straight away in terms of asking questions? I mean, you know Hayfield anyway, but what did you do? Because it was quite close, wasn't it, between qualifying and then the final?
Yeah, so it was 2 weeks. I mean, to be honest, I didn't really do that much actual prep, because I've already got all that stuff sorted anyway.
Yeah,
I've got all my stuff for Psych House is exactly the same, because it's the same stamp fish. It's the same depth. So Psych House is 8, 9, 10 foot. Hayfield's the same, 8, 9, 10 foot. They're all similar stamp carp. They're like commons and mirrors between sort of like 4 to 20 pounds, say. Do you know what I mean? So you could catch a little bit of everything, but the general stamp is 4 to 10. So I've got like hundreds and hundreds of hook lengths already done up, because that's where I'm going on a weekly basis. I know that's what I need there. All my elastics are already for that. So I didn't have to do any of that.
Brilliant.
Like, for example, if I'd have been going to Partridge, or I just fished like Tunnel Barn every week, I'd have had to probably do all my hook lengths.
We've said, all F1s, all them hook lengths, all those different rigs,
and all my rigs. I probably needed to get some floats for it, because obviously I don't really fish. Do you know what I mean? It would have been a bit alien.
Yeah.
Because I'm just that's all I do anyway. It was like, right, prep's done. Let's just go for a little look at Hayfield. I've not been for a while. I live quite close to there, but I don't go there that much, because they don't have that many open matches there anymore.
No.
It's more because they're so busy with the club matches. So it's like, let's just go and have a little look at Hayfield. And yeah, it was just like sort of job done, really. It was quite easy, really, to prep for it, because I knew what I needed. Do you know what I mean?
It's quite funny when I think about that final, and just to repeat again, I'm not going to delve into how you won the match or whatever, but there's a couple of things that stood out. One was that you said, I think you said it in the interview straight after, or similar, was that there was no pressure really because there was no crowds. Everyone stood behind Bennett and Jamie Hughes and Andy May and all the rest of it. But if they were behind you at the start, you might not have fished the same match.
Maybe not. No, maybe not. Maybe you'd have got a little bit too. I don't know. Maybe you'd have got a little bit too. What would be the word?
Pressure.
Frightened, like to do like what you thought was going to work, or do you know what I mean? Like
because the eyes are on, like
because the eyes are on you. You think I've got to do this because they're stood there.
Yeah,
I've had that before though in matches where, like in qualifiers and stuff, where you don't want to do something because you think, you know what I mean. You don't want to go out and start slapping at 16 meters, like because you think, oh, well, do you know what I mean? Like people think it's a bit daft, like years ago. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah,
you just. I've not me personally, but I've heard people say it. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't want to do this because I thought he might think
somebody might think he looks a bit silly or whatever. They're more bothered about what other people think.
Yeah, but you shouldn't have a thing like that. Do you know what I mean? Like you just do, but definitely like that crowd. It's something that we're just not used to in fishing. Like no, it's never. I've never experienced it before.
I think unless you're an international angler, so you Scott Horns, you Will Raisins, Callum Dix, these lads that have fished those world champs where obviously they're lining the banks, or if you're a really old school angler, like I did a podcast with Ian Eaps, and you know those sort of lads. When they used to fish, you'd have hundreds going to watch a match on a Witham Championship, whatever. So unless you're a really sort of old school angler or an international, I don't know. It's alien, isn't it? Like you said, you mentioned to Matt, one person walks behind you in your local commercial, like, you all right, mate? What are you doing?
Yeah, that's it. That's what it is, though, isn't it?
Skydiving, do one,
you don't want, like, you just don't want to speak to anyone when you're fishing, do you? Because you're concentrating that much. But on that match, it's like, blooming hell.
You've got no choice.
I think some things that she was asking me, she was on about rugby. At one point,
when you fishing for 50 grand,
What she said? What's your favourite fish, or what's your favourite type of fish?
Did you say haddock?
I was just like, mate. I was just laughing at them like questions. I was like, what are you on about? And then I think Dale, my mate Dale, had said something to it. The thing is, like, they don't really like. It's a bit of a fish show's a little bit of a. I don't even know what to say.
Listen, what I think I know.
Goes on.
I think I know what route you're going down, and I'll help you out. So I covered this on the last podcast, and I do a piece at the start. I'm actually not going to do it on this one, called the Press Pack, where I look at some of the stuff. And there was one thing that really got my goat. There was Fishermania Facebook page had made a post and said, another one over, great to have the crowds back, big well done to Harry Bignell. And I looked through the comments, and there actually wasn't that many well dones to you. It was all
no, like most of them were like moaning, weren't they?
About negative about the venue, about the commentators. It did my head in.
Being on an end peg and all that sort of stuff.
That, and it really annoyed me because I think what a lot of anglers are not appreciating, as I said on the last podcast as well, is that, and I think this is the route you're going down, is that Fishermania, Sky Sports, it's not. We'd love it to be just about match fishing. We'd love it to be all, but it's not. It's aimed at the non-angler. You've got to talk as if we're all daft as a brush and have never chucked a rod out. Everything's got to be in layman's terms. So actually, for Mrs. Smith's at home doing a knitting, who might have just flicked on Sky Sports and is watching you smash all these carp out, she might be interested at, who's this young lad here? Oh, he likes a bit of rugby. Who's his football team? And that's what it is. As daft as it seems to us. And a lot of lads and lasses will be sat home, proper anglers will be saying, just get on with it. I want to see what rig he's using.
100%.
Actually, that doesn't work for Sky Sports. And that's, I think, why it's so weird.
That is what it is. Like, it's not like people are like, oh, well, that is exactly it. There might be how many people viewing that. I bet more people that don't go fishing watch that than people that do go fishing watch it.
Say there's 2 million people. I don't know. Just pluck that figure out there. 2 million people. Probably about 500,000 are anglers. The rest of them would just be
of course.
Random people.
There'll be loads of people who watch that don't go fishing. I know there is anyway, because I've had loads messaging me on Facebook saying, look, I'm thinking of getting into fishing. They've not even been. Do you know what I mean? And they've messaged me saying, well done. They've never even been fishing, ever. but they've watched it instead of thinking of getting into it. I must have had like 15, 20 messages like that.
Really? That's
over
brilliant.
the past. Loads, yeah. Do you know what I mean? You can't like put a big paragraph together, but you just say, yeah, definitely try it. Do you know what I mean? But it is something that you've got to take into account, and that people just don't understand. People are just so quick to jump on negative. Like, I don't get why people are so negative all the time. It's just like
well, we're lucky to have such a great event, and if it doesn't come across as maybe we would like it to, you've just got to suck it and say, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And like, the thing is, what are they going to do next year? Like, thing is, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Simple as. Go watch something else if you think Keith Arthur's no good, or if you think do you know what I mean? Like, if they think they could do a better job or whatever. Yeah, things need to change slightly, but you know what I mean. You can't just go on Facebook and start like slating it.
There was one as well that's, I mean, if it spoke about, and again on these podcasts, I've done two with Keith. I've done one with Rob Hughes.
Yeah.
And when they start saying BT would do a better job than Sky, how do you know that? Are you an editor?
Yeah.
You know, it's some real weird stuff on there, but it is what it is, and you know, fine. But yeah, those questions is quite funny. But then the second point I was going to say about that, because I watched it and I heard you say it. I'm sure I did, so confirm this. One bit when you walk past Bennett at the end, and I think he said to you, when did you know you'd won it? And you went something like, after about 2 hours, mate, and he went, unreal.
No, that was Paul Holland, mate.
Paul Holland, was it? Yeah, it was something along those lines, and I just thought, right, well, now I know that you knew that you'd potentially got that check in the bag early doors, so the pressure must have felt pretty much off those last 3 hours.
Yeah. I knew that I was going to win it quite early on, because obviously when you're 30 kilos, like the thing is, I've watched loads of the fish shows on YouTube, you see. So when you watch them, and you kind of get like a bit of an idea of how it works. Like, if someone gets in a lead like that, like they're not going to get beat, and I knew how strong that peg was.
Yeah.
Because Airfield's been fishing quite hard, to be fair, David, like leading up until that event.
Yeah.
And my peg was absolutely rigid. Like, I mean, it was that strong. I could have probably, like, you know what I mean? I could have packed up after 2.5 hours and still won.
Yeah.
And my better hours were after that anyway. So it was like, I could enjoy it, but in your head, you're still fishing for 50 grand.
Yeah, big money.
And there's still people who've come to watch it. So you've got to, like, you know, it's still on telly. People are like, oh, you should have just packed up. It's like, what while Sky is on? Do you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, that would look mint for fishing, wouldn't it? Like, you know what I mean? You've still got to fish and, you know, try and catch. There was that, obviously, the margin thing. You know what I mean? You just got to do your own thing, and, you know, as much as you can catch, whatever you win by, you win by. It's a fishing match at the end of the day, but you'd rather be in that position, David, where you're winning by a comfortable margin than having to catch up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you'd always be in that. You'd always rather have that.
You'd take it any day, wouldn't you? Absolutely.
100%. But it's
brilliant.
One of them things. It probably will never ever happen like that again. Ever in a final, in my opinion. I don't think there'll ever be a final like that again, ever.
No,
just because it was just that peg was just that strong.
I can only think of an example. I've only been to one physical final, and it was I think it was Jamie Hughes' first win, 2013 at Cudmore, and I sat behind him. There was a few of the lads that we went down, and we sat behind him. It was a red hot day. He had a stack of barbel.
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah,
remember it. And I think he was fishing caster at about, so it wasn't far out, 6 or 7 meters. There must have been a little hole, and there was a stack of them sat in there, and he just absolutely smashed them out there. But the difference on that was that it would only take, because these barbel are, you know, a couple of pound a piece, it would only take someone to get a couple of double figure carp, and they were back up there. Whereas on this match of yours, the stamp that you were getting, the regularity that you were getting, you couldn't see anybody moving. I know Sam next to you had a good run towards the end. But none of the favoured lads, if you want to use that term, were pulling up any trees. It's just, you could just see it, and you're right. I don't think it would be replicated again.
Not like that, no. I mean, for that to be replicated again, I think I don't know. It'd have to be at a different venue, I think.
Different. I was going to say, I'm just trying to think. Go way back. I remember when I was a kid, one of the early doors. I think it might have been Andy Jennings or one of them.
Yeah,
it was at Allcroft, and that one of those matches was won with something like about 17, 18 pound. So it was all bits, but there was only like 10 ounce between the top three.
Yeah.
So it was a totally different style. So there has been scenarios like, but not this style of fishing, not modern commercial match fishing where you've just absolutely sort of destroyed it. Oh, there was one final thing as well, that has just reminded me.
Yeah, go on.
Thinking about, what's this about? There's a bit of a rave going on that was doing your head in. Oh, there was some music.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What was it?
Crazy, mate. So, like, I've never heard music ever, but there was like two massive speakers either side of the bottom bank. So there was like a speaker at one side of the dam wall, and then like a speaker at the other either side of the podium thing.
Yeah.
And they were playing like, it was like all sorts, like pop, like dance music.
Yeah.
And like you could hear it booming from where I was. I was probably like 150 metres away.
Mm-hmm.
So God knows what it'll have been like flipping like Leeds Festival at that bottom end.
Yeah, dead right. It's got to affect the fishing as well, surely.
It was mad. I mean, I thought it was just going to be on for, what do you call it, for the morning? Do you know, like
before the all in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I thought it was for. Like I said to Dale, I was like, do you reckon it'll get turned off? It was like, well, I don't know. And then it didn't get turned off. And I was like, do you think they've meant to like keep that music on? Like, do you think that's because all I'm thinking is like they're trying to commentate on it, but there's going to be this music blasting out. Are they going to be able to hear it? Do you know what I mean? But it didn't sound that loud on the video.
No, it didn't. That's why I'm asking, because it had to be there.
It was loud down that bottom end, mate. Real loud. Like whether they turned it down a bit, I stopped noticing it towards the end, but I know it was still on. But like,
how weird! I suppose it's the nature of the beast again. Yeah, it's just.
I suppose it's the same for everyone. Do you know what I mean? But like, obviously, one end of the lake was definitely louder than the other.
I mean, it's not unique. I mean, Match, I don't know if Phil Briscoe still does his bit on the mic at Match this finals. He used to do. I know, like a DJ. Evesham weekend, he used to have it then as well. So you'd have the microphone, and they'd be literally like commentating on who's catching well and whatever.
Yeah.
But not like Venga boys blasting out down the lakes, you know. It's like, what's going on?
Oh,
funny.
Absolutely crazy, mate. Honestly.
Brilliant. I haven't really got that much more to say about Fish Show because you covered it nicely. You know, I know that you'll be doing loads of other sort of write-ups and read-ups on how you won it and whatnot, etc. But I guess my final thought on Fish Show on this one is, before we wrap up, and I'll ask you one or two final questions. How does Sky treat you? What's the whole experience like? Oh, and another one. What do you do for the loo?
So, what's it like? How does Sky treat you? To be honest, it was like in the morning. It was just like a normal like sort of match. Really, we got there quite. I was there quite early, waiting outside the fishery. It was like I parked up, got out my car because we was all waiting outside for us to be allowed in. There was like all the anglers just like wandering about, really, just like chatting outside the venue. And then, like as we drove in, it sort of like got real then, because there was like obviously this music on, and there was like loads of like Sky staff, security,
of course,
loads of other staff like stewards and stuff like walking about and setting things up. And then there was like a little area with like a little fairground, like a little ride and stuff like that. And it was like, I was like looking about like, Jesus Christ, this is like big. Do you know what I mean? This year, they put some serious effort into like loads of stalls, like Maver, Guru, Preston, like everywhere. Like it was just
big
packed.
Trade stands, yeah.
And I was like, when people get in here, I think I even said it to one of my mates who was in I can't remember who it was. It might have been like Fisky or something like that. Who was in the cafe. I was like, mate, this is going to be crazy when everyone get in here, because I could just see it, like everyone like piling in. And
oh yeah, they reckon like 7,000 people.
Yeah, and they did like very, very quickly. As soon as we were in, they were in. All the people just started coming through then, and yeah, it was like we had a COVID test like straight away.
Oh right, yeah, good.
So they gave us like this. It was like a lateral flow test.
One, yeah, the half-hour ones, yeah.
Had that. Obviously, found out I didn't have COVID, which meant I could fish. And then it was like, right, off you go, see your pegs, parked my car up, got my gear out, and then drove all the way back round because you're not allowed to leave your car outside your peg. You've got to like drive all the way back up to the car park, main car park where I parked. And then as I'm walking back, I just talking to people, really, like odd people like coming up to me and that. I think a few of them didn't even know I was in the final.
Yeah.
And then like obviously I got to my peg and just set up as normal, David. It was like I don't know. Sometimes I'm real chill with stuff, and then sometimes I'm not. But that day I was just like, I don't know what it was. It was just I didn't get any nerves. I didn't get any.
Really brilliant.
Nothing. No, I just was like dead chilled. I don't know what it was, mate. It was weird, to be fair. Sometimes, like, whereas like if I was fishing, I don't know. It's like sometimes I get nervous fishing qualifiers, but I'm not nervous in the final. It's weird.
Yeah, it's strange that, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
Written in the stars, mate.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, brilliant. So, no, it sounds like... you didn't answer the question about the loo.
Oh, the loo. So, yeah, that one. I never even went to the toilet that day at all.
Wow.
For 5 hours. Whereas usually I do need to go at least once.
See, I reckon I'd shit myself. I reckon I'd have to have a load of Imodium beforehand.
and then that was it. Like, that was it. I didn't go again. I don't think Sam Brown did either.
Genuinely, honestly, I think I'd be that nervous. I'd have to have about 50 Imodium or something beforehand. Oh, dear.
Class.
Okay, brilliant. So, I mean, you've given us a real good insight into everything there, mate. It's been fantastic. But I guess just to sort of think about wrapping up, what does the future hold for you then? I mean, I know we're probably not going to, unless there's a real tempting offer around sponsorship. We know that your team fishing was short and sweet. So what's the plans? I mean, I know you say you're still kicking on with UK, but you'll want to defend the fish show, obviously.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely, mate. I mean, I think the main thing with me is, I would say, I'll just carry on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And just see whatever comes. I'm just going to keep trying to win stuff. So, and just tick things off as they go, as they come now. So, like, obviously, I've won Fisher. I've had good, decent results in other competitions as well. But now I want to just, I want to win something. I want to win something else. So I'm
going to
try and win the UK champs now. Like whether it'll be this year, next year, the year after. So that's the next thing that I want to win now. So
I like the UK champs because it's about consistency.
Yeah. So I want to win that. Like, I think, and then obviously after I've won that, then I'll try. Obviously, I'm just going to keep trying to build on it.
I like what you just said. Did you hear what you just said? Then you said, obviously after I've won that, confident already.
So like, I just I just feel like I just want to keep trying to compete at that level. But I feel if I put enough effort in, I'll get the results.
Yeah. No, it's a balance as well, mate. You've got a young family and all the rest of it. It's hard to balance everything, and you just got to try and do what you can do. And I love it. One final thing then from me, just what if you could give one tip when fishing for carp on a commercial, what would it be?
Patience.
Right. Okay.
So people get a little bit. I see it a lot. I see people coming off things, and I think with carp, the complete. I'm gonna broaden this out a little bit because it's quite. You can't just say patience and not explain it.
Go for it.
For carp fishing, it's very different to F1 fishing because you don't need to. You don't really need to like sort of tee lines up, so you can sort of start lines as and when. And another thing is you don't need to. You can't fish too many lines either. You've only got you've got like 2 or 3 that you're going to catch on.
Yeah.
So the reason why I think patience is the main thing is because you're only going to be fishing for like 10, 15, 20, 25 fish. Sometimes maybe 30 max if you're big carp fishing. sometimes 10 and 15 can get you in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're fishing a 6-hour match and you actually divide that time up, your bite waiting for bites is like 15, 20 minutes sometimes.
Yeah, you could only need 3 fish an hour.
And carp just like, they don't respond to like throwing loads of bait in loads of different areas. It's just not the way forward.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to pick some areas of your peg to target them in and just be patient and know that when they actually start feeding, you'll catch them. Yeah. But you can sometimes sit for 4 hours with carp and not catch anything. And then all of a sudden, they can rock up, pop up, whatever, and you can catch 15 in 15 shucks. So you've just got to be patient.
Is there any merit as well? And I mean, probably the majority of my fishing nowadays is F1s, I guess, mainly. But when I've fished carp, yeah, I think so. I mean, I've started fishing rivers and bits and pieces nowadays as well to mix it. But probably a lot of F1s. But
like that at your end though, David, isn't it? There's loads more of F1s, isn't there? It
is, mate. Big time. It's dominated.
It is, isn't it?
Really. But it is. I guess with the carp, when I have the glebe, I fish the glebe quite a lot, and I've always found copying people, watching what's going on, and then making the switch.
Yeah,
does that still have its merit?
Definitely, 100%. Like that's one of the most important things, because the thing is, carp just make themselves so obvious. Like F1s, they can be sat in your peg and you won't know it.
That's right.
Whereas with carp, they're just obvious. If someone's catching them on a certain method, that's what how they're feeding. So looking around the lake, but these days, like muggins are massive, so like looking for them as well is big, and you know, just having the time and just trying to.
Well, that's an interesting one. Mugging, patience. I mean, the last thing you want to do is sort of sit there with your pole over the water and wait for, you've got to pull out the water, stand up. It might be 10 minutes before a fish comes past you, but
you might go an hour though. You might go an hour and not catch one, and then you might get 7 in 7 chucks.
Yeah,
and that's just the way you've got to look at it.
I like that.
That's my number one thing. I think with carp, I think you've just got to be patient and look around, like you just said, just try and gain a little bit of an understanding of what's going on and where to be at the right times of the day, and don't set too much gear up. There's another one. 100%. I think you've got to fish something to its true potential. But yeah,
I love it. Well, Harry, that has been fantastic. I just want to say a massive thank you for joining me. I know it's sucking up your time and whatnot.
No, it's spot on, mate. No problem.
And again, a massive well done on winning that 50 grand as well. So,
thanks, David.
Ladies and gents, Mr. Harry Bignell, brilliant.
Cheers, bud.
Teddy Fisher Baits specialise in the manufacture of fishing ground bait and additives. We combine a 40-year-old proven fish catching recipe and the experience of our skilled team. Fishing is an adventure, and here at Teddy Fisher, we strive to make that adventure a success. Go to www.teddyfisher.co.uk to see our full range of baits.
For all your fishing needs, be sure to check out Fishing Evolution. Boasting 2 floors of branded displays, visit our recently expanded superstore at Hadley Road in Sleaford, where we offer a huge range of tackle from all of the leading coarse and carp brands, such as Nash, Fox, Korda, Drennan, Preston, Guru, Daiwa, and many, many more. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram, where we share all of the latest news and updates about products available in store.